with a record of all of their good deeds. But good deeds followed them. They had an attitude of service. And the king reveals to them, those who are deemed righteous, those who are rewarded for their service, when you were serving them, you were serving them. See, that's the mindset I have when I'm in the mailroom and people are getting promoted to management. I'm not working for General Electric or DuPont or whatever the name of the company is. I'm working for my master. If I've worked all day and I come home to prepare a meal and my spouse is not doing what he or she could be doing, listen, I love you and I serve you, but I'm serving my master. And whatever comfort, whatever prestige I can possibly get on earth doesn't compare to that one. Because at the end of the day, when he comes back, all the crowns are left behind. The only crowns that will last are the crowns that he bestows. And so we want to be a people of service. And understand that when I serve you, I am serving my Lord through you. Dad would tell this story about a violinist who was very shy, didn't give many concerts. But seemingly and unknowingly to the village that he lived in, he was going to have this great concert. And he played perfectly for 40 minutes. And once he ended the concert, he paused and looked into the audience, and the audience erupted into applause. And he searched the stands. Then he went back to playing music. And he played even more vigorously the second time, another 40 minutes. And he stopped, and the crowd was astonished. And they came to their feet, and he searched the balcony and started to play a third time. And by this time, sweat is pouring, and he's playing vigorously, and it is perfect, and it is the most beautiful concert that people had ever heard in their life. He stopped as his eyes fixed upon a person in the balcony. After the concert, people all gathered, and town reporters came to talk to this young violinist. Listen, you played so well the first time, and it was unbelievable the second time, and you had standing ovations each time. Why did you keep playing? He said, the reason I called this concert in the first place, because the violinist who taught me to play, the master violinist, said he was coming to town. And I heard that he was going to be in this place, so I played, and I kept playing until I saw the master. And when I saw him standing on his feet, then I knew I had done what I needed to do. So, brothers and sisters, we serve for the master. And we serve until we see the master. It's what characterizes greatness in the kingdom of heaven. But that's not enough encouragement to you to understand what greatness may be. Having a picture of greatness. Jesus communicates what it seems common to our understanding. He says, in a scenario, a person comes and sits at the table. Which one is greater, the one that sits or the one that serves? Of course, the one that sits. That's who makes the order. But let me give you a revelation. The reason I need because I am here as one who serves. Jesus, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, is also servant of servants. Put this in context for the disciples in the upper room, where he's already talked about his betrayal. When they came into that place to celebrate that last Passover meal, it was a custom in the Jewish culture for there to be a servant with a wash basin. And as guests would come into the house, would kneel down and wash their feet as they came in. And when they entered this house, there was no servant. So Jesus dressed himself as a slave, tying a towel around his waist, filling a basin with water, kneeling down with his disciples and washed their feet. I come to you as one who serves. The days of frontline generals no longer exist. But in ancient times, generals wouldn't serve from the back of the formation, but they fought alongside their soldiers. One of the great conquerors, Hannibal, he wouldn't just fight alongside his soldiers. He dressed in their armor and their military garb. That's why they fought so hard. They knew the one who led them was with them. One who was due to be elevated. One who should be preserved. Veiled himself to the same servant. And here we have the greatest humiliation. God in the flesh, on his knees, washing his disciples' feet. Can I serve my neighbor? They may not ever say thank you. I may not ever have some recognition come from the community. I may volunteer over and over again and never receive a thank you. But if I can remember the one who served me, that's enough. So I don't want you to just know about service. I want to give you two ways you can apply this truth. First area I want to encourage you to serve is your community. Serve your community. There are churches that do great things. But can you imagine not if church bodies did great things, but Christians did great things? If you think about in this room, we have 50 or 60 people. 60 people in various parts of the city making a difference. See, the world thinks that the church is irrelevant. They have their clubs, we have our clubs. They do their thing, we do our thing. But if we would mobilize and move out. I read a quote from someone, an unknown author, that talked about the most powerful force is also the most underutilized. And that's the child of God. That if all the Christians in the world, not at all, but at 10% of the Christians in the world would just put into practice whatever they knew, this world would be a better place. We cannot change what is happening necessarily in Syria, in Ghana, or wherever else, but you can make a difference in Friendswood, Pearland, Sunnyside, Katy. You can make a difference. There's a need in your community. A lot of times there's a community organization that's there that's desperately seeking volunteers. And you can be a volunteer. So I want to encourage you to see the needs in your community. Google. You don't have to go deep. You can pray and then use Google. And see what's happening in their area. And give some time. It might be once a month. It'll make a difference. different. We stand in a place, and over on that billboard, my picture is on the billboard. Now, it's really interesting. My picture's on the billboard because we help, as a church body, sponsor a field trip for the kids here at Rodeo Palms Junior High. But there's not a picture of all of us. There's a picture of me, because why? Because I went to the field trip. I also got a letter from a nonprofit organization thanking the Way of Life for its service in Katy. I've never been to Katy. Excuse me, not in volunteering, driven through Katy. But one of our family members volunteers with that nonprofit. Can you imagine? And I'm not speaking of the Way of Life local body. I'm talking about the Way of Life person, Jesus Christ. What kind of reputation the world would have? What kind of relevancy would people have when it comes to this whole idea of faith in Jesus Christ, when they see the people of Jesus Christ making a difference? So you can serve in your community. The other place is to serve in your church. To serve in your church. Galatians 5:13 through 14 says, "For you are called to freedom, brothers. Only do not use your freedom as an opportunity for the flesh, but through love serve one another. For the whole law is fulfilled in one word: you shall love your neighbor as yourself." It is interesting how much dissension there is in church, complaining about what's not right in the church. How come they're not having children's church today? How come they haven't started an after-school program? Been a part of our church, and it was a very blessing to the community. How come they don't do that? How come you don't have? We need people that say, "Listen, I will do this." Now next week we're going to start having children's ministry again. They've been sealing the floor in the gymnasium, so next week we will have that. But right now, normally in rotation, there's 4 people. Look at it, you got 2 of them. They say this is 2 today. They have 3 times of that. Now the idea is in each of our ministries that serve here in our weekly gatherings is that they only serve every other week. So they have a blessed, they can come in and be blessed by the word just like everyone else. We have the benefit of having the app to listen to the sermons after the fact. But listen, if you're a part of a church, you're there not just to sit, but to serve. Matter of fact, God has gifted you to serve your church. Do you know that? I want us to read this. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 4 through 11. It says, "Now there are a variety of gifts, but the same Spirit. And there are varieties of service, but the same Lord. And there are varieties of activities, but it is the same God who empowers them all in every one. To each is given the manifestation of the Spirit for the common good. For to one is given through the Spirit the utterance of wisdom, to another the utterance of knowledge according to the same Spirit, to another faith by the same Spirit, to another gifts of healing by the one Spirit, to another the working of miracles, to another prophecy, to another the ability to distinguish between spirits, to another various kinds of tongues, to another the interpretation of tongues. All these are empowered by one and the same Spirit, who apportions to each one individually as He wills." Did you see the purpose in the middle? Purpose in the middle is for the common good. So what does that mean? God says, I have given you a special ability given by me, that when you utilize it, we're all blessed. And so I want you to understand what the negative says. The negative says, when I don't serve, we're not all good. That we're all missing what we could have in a blessing if we all contributed. I would encourage you, if you're a part of another church, you need to get involved. If you're part of this church, you're expected to be involved. So we need more people and children. We need to facilitate more in-person, hospitality, AV, administration, assimilation, all sorts of stuff that are needed. And so we don't come to sit and be consumers, we are producers. Because God has gifted us to be servants. So we don't want to allow that gift to sit. If you ever lose sight of greatness, greatness is not about what you know. It's about what you can show. Matter of fact, Ali did the same thing.
Who knocks out everybody and no one can whoop him. That's when that little Cassius Clay from Louisville, Kentucky came up and stopped Sonny Liston, the man who annihilated Floyd Patterson twice. He was going to kill me. But he hit harder than George. His reach was longer than George, his better boxer than George. And I'm better now than I was when you saw that 22-year-old undeveloped kid running from Sonny Liston. I'm experienced now, professional. Jaws been broke, been lost, knocked down a couple of times. I'm bad. Been chopping trees. I done something new for this fight. I done wrestled with an alligator. That's right. I have wrestled with an alligator. I done tussled with a whale. I done handcuffed lightning, throw thunder in jail. That's bad. Only last week, I murdered a rock, injured a stone, hospitalized a brick. I'm so mean, I make medicine sick. Man, dude. Yeah. Fast. Last night I cut the light off in my bedroom, hit the switch, was in the bed before the room was dark. Fast. And you, George Foreman, all of you chumps are gonna bow when I whoop him. All of you. I know you got him. I know you got him picked, but the man's in trouble. I'm gonna show you how great I am.
He says, I'm going to show you. So the showing the greatness in the kingdom. Show how much we serve.